Welcome to Borderline Furniture, project number 38 for the Vintage Revival Challenge. This challenge is hosted by Krystal at the Crafty Creech and Andy from Flip Pop. What says vintage more than a VW bus and some old vintage chairs painted in vintage green? This would probably be a good time to mention that I've never done a project quite like this before, and I purchased these chairs as is, and this is the picture from Facebook Marketplace. I didn't paint these chairs, and I never saw them with fabric on them. This green would have worked out perfectly for the fabric I have in mind to recover these chairs, but the wrong kind of paint was used, and when I started pulling out the staples, the paint started peeling with it, so that meant that I had to strip the chairs. I covered these chairs in plastic and let them set so that the stripper could do its job, and it was working well. This is an eco stripper, which is easily washed off with water, or so I thought. So my great idea was to take it down to the car wash and rinse it with the power rinser, but that actually turned into a big gooey mess. So when I got home, I got out my scraper and I scraped off as much of that gunk that I could. Then I had to let the chairs sit for several days to dry out. Even after waiting several days for the paint to dry out, it was still really gummy, and I went through a lot of sandpaper. After the sanding process, I went through again and pulled out more staples. Man, there was a ton of staples left. I just wanted a darker undercoat for distressing, so I'm using a water-based stain. I'll let this dry for a couple hours and then I'll hit it with some paint. So when I first got these chairs home, I realized that they had been brush painted with latex paint. I'm not a fan of brush painting chairs, and I'm not a fan of latex paint. So in this case, I used my sprayer and I used a chalk-based paint. This will last a lot longer and with better adhesion. Once upon a time, Home Depot carried these sanding sponges. I can't get them there anymore, but you can get them on Amazon. These are wonderful. I absolutely love them. You can get in all the nooks and crannies. And this is a chair, which means there's going to be a lot of them. Sanding between your paint and top coat is a must for a smooth finish. Here I'm using polyacrylic in matte for a top coat on this chalk paint. Okay, welcome to processes that I have never done before. This is an elastic seat binding that I had to purchase on Amazon. I can't buy this locally. My two local craft stores, Hobby Lobby and Michael's, I don't believe they carry anything like this. So where did I learn all of these chair reupholstering ninja skills? Well, on YouTube, of course. Although some private instruction probably would have saved me a lot of time and money. Okay, I got here. So far, so good. My next step here is to add the burlap. The burlap prevents the foam from falling through the web base. Here is a nice piece of 2-inch foam to pad the hiney. I'm adding some polyester fluff to sort of smooth it out where the 2-inch foam ends and the sides begin. Does this look like carpet padding to you? Well, it is. It is carpet padding. It's going to work out great. You're just going to have to trust me on this one. Okay, are you still not seeing my vision on this one? Well, you will. I still have a couple more layers to go. Things are really going to start taking shape after I finish putting on the 1-inch piece of foam. Well, that's pretty amazing. I think that came out better than I expected. I'm going to switch gears here and do the back piece. It's a little more difficult than you would think because I'm actually working with a curved surface. Now once I install the main piece, I got to go back again and install a second layer. So this is a second layer of fabric that I'm cutting off right now. Okay, I'm being a little daring here. I'm using a 2-inch piece of foam for the backrest. I purchased a new staple gun, and this thing really does work a lot better than the flat one I had. And it seems like I'm getting that foam down pretty good. Just a double layer of Dacron to give it a little more fluff. After this trim, I'll be ready for the last layer, which is the fabric. Are you guys feeling vintage retro yet? I got some campers, I got my VW van, I got my 1970s colors. This is working out great. You know, it just occurred to me that reupholstering furniture is totally a vintage retro thing. Who does that these days? I promise this last layer of double Dacron is the last layer before we put the fabric on the chair seat. Hey, did anyone see any carpet padding around here? I bet if you hadn't seen it in this video, you would have never known it was there. After a long alignment process of getting this fabric exactly where I wanted it, it's time for the final staples, and then I gotta do the trim. I've watched countless videos on how to do reupholstery, but when it comes to the end part where they glue on the trim, for some reason it gets cut out. Well, when the trim doesn't go on right, it's just best to rip it off and start over again. After 2 nasty blisters and a restart, I finally got this project done, and now we're ready for the final reveal. Just a reminder, here are these wonderful chairs that I got off of Facebook Marketplace. And here is the final reveal. And this is where I get to thank Krystal at the Crafty Creech and co-host Andy at Flip Hop for this amazing challenge. Please, please, please check out the playlist at the end of this video or in the description. And as always, thanks for watching.